opening hymn, which is hymn number 152. And let's stand together as we sing that, 152. Thank you. You may be seated.
Good morning. Happy Sabbath. All you happy, smiling people. Anna's visiting a friend she has not seen in a while, so I'm going to have the mission story, if I can see it. Oh, you're going to have it. Yeah, come on up here. Maybe she did tell me that. Yeah. I told you, I forget.
Good morning. Our mission story this morning comes out of Africa. Here are a few fast facts about Africa. In 1988, I'm sorry, I must have Africa on the brain. I'm looking at Jamaica and I'm saying Africa. It's coming out of Jamaica. I should have let Tom have this morning, maybe. Let's try this again. Jamaica. A few fast facts about Jamaica. In 1988, Jamaica was the first tropical country to send a bobsledding team to the Winter Olympics. I think they made a movie about that, actually, so that's pretty impressive for a tropical island. Jamaica is home to more than 200 species of exotic orchid, 73 of which are indigenous. That would certainly add to the natural beauty of that island. Wow. Jamaica's Kingston Harbor is the 7th largest natural harbor in the world. Also pretty impressive. And Jamaica is home to the fastest man in the world, Usain Bolt. That's a pretty fitting name for the fastest man in the world. Bolt. Wow. Okay. Mavis Burrell Spencer wasn't sure what to do when her husband's high-end tailoring business when he died a decade ago. Her husband had established 3 flourishing tailor shops in Jamaica, including a main outlet with 25 employees and a shopping center in the island's capital, Kingston. Mavis saw that she was at a crossroads, and she ultimately decided to run the business by herself. 10 years later, Mavis found herself at a crossroads again. She wanted to be baptized into the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and Saturday was her busiest day at work. She prayed earnestly about what to do. Mavis, who had attended a Sunday church on and off, first heard about the seventh-day Sabbath from Adventist friends. But she didn't know that the 4th commandment, to remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy, applies to all Christians today. Things began to change after a family friend invited her to a weekly Bible study. The friend, an Adventist business owner, had prayed regularly with her husband before he died, and Mavis had turned down his earlier invitations to attend church, saying that she was too busy. But then he invited her to the small group Bible studies and called her every week to remind her to come. Mavis was astonished to discover how little she knew about the Bible. Everything began to open up to me in the Bible, Mavis said. I said at one lesson, I didn't know all these things were in the Bible. In addition to the Sabbath truth, she didn't realize that Jesus was coming soon and would take the righteous home. She was amazed by the Bible's description of the new earth. The more that was explained to me, the more that I wanted to hear, Mavis said. But she continued to operate her tailor shops on Sabbath. Then one evening, as she drove home from the Bible study, she felt like a voice was telling her, "You can run, but you can't hide." Mavis began to pray earnestly about the Sabbath. I was not fully accepting what I was learning, she said. I believed that the Lord was saying to me that I was running away from him, but I couldn't hide, no matter what happened. In December 2016, she made her decision. She posted a notice on the doors of her 3 shops that read, effective January 7, Spencer's tailoring establishment will be closed on Saturdays. Instead, the shops would be open on Sundays. Mavis was baptized on January 7. Several clients complained angrily about the shops being closed. "How could you do this?" said one. "Saturday is the most productive day, so why are you closing?" said another. Mavis replied patiently, "My Father in heaven tells me that 1,000 cattle on the hills belong to him, so it is nothing for me to give 10 of them, for him to give 10 of them to me." Even though her shops were closed on Saturdays, they began to prosper. Clients started to praise her decision to work on Sunday. Big crowds at the shopping center where her main shop was located made it difficult to find parking on Saturdays, but the shopping center was quiet on Sundays. "My sales are going up," Mavis said. "A lot of people who usually came during the week or on Saturday have found it more convenient to come in on Sunday. They like not having to wrestle for parking." Even more important than money, Mavis said, is the reality that she has gained a new family at church. She will long remember the warm reception that she received when she first went to church on Sabbath. It was like a gate opened, she said. Everyone rushed at me. I can't believe that people are so loving and so kind. I've never been so happy in all my life. These days, Mavis, who is 66, prays with her staff before opening every morning. She asks God to bless the customers and to give the staff strength and love for one another. She said her employees used to argue and compete, but now a sense of calm and unity has come over her business. She also has invited employees to attend the small group Bible studies, and one of them is preparing for baptism. Asked what advice she has for business owners thinking about keeping the Sabbath, she said, "You have nothing to lose. You only have to gain when you give it all to the Lord." Her favorite Bible verse is Philippians 4:13, which says, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." Keep your eyes on Jesus because he is the source of life, she said. Without him, you have nothing. With him, you can do everything. Amen.
Thank you, April. Well, go figure. Leave it up to a Spencer to edify people on the Sabbath, right? Amen. And I love track and field also, and Usain Bolt, his nickname is Lightning. They call him the Lightning Bolt. Unbelievable how fast he is. Or maybe was. He just recently retired. He lost his final race here a few months ago by the slimmest of margins. I think it was his first loss in maybe 10 years. Happens to the best of us, right? the needle, the age needle keeps on climbing, and it catches all of us, at some point. But normally when I speak, or am asked to speak, I try to relate it to something that definitely applies to me. So come along on my ride, and I hope it affects your journey as well. Ephesians, I'm going to read a verse out of Ephesians here. Ephesians 4:29. Says, "Let no corrupt word proceed out of your mouth, but what is good for necessary edification, that it may impart grace to the hearers." That's good stuff, huh? "Let no corrupt word proceed out of your mouth, but what is good for necessary edification, that it may impart grace to the hearers." Today is really a reminder about gossip. A reminder about gossip. I've been told many times repetition is a great teacher. I'm sure we've all heard about gossip in the past, but we're going to get this reminder again today. I've referenced this book. I don't know if anyone else has it, My Utmost for His Highest. I'm going to read one of the devotions in here. All right. You ready? Put your spiritual seatbelt on. Here we go. 1 John 5:16, it says, "If anyone sees his brother sinning a sin which does not lead to death, he will ask, and he will give him life for those who commit sin not leading to death." It says, if we are not heedful and pay no attention to the way the Spirit of God works in us, we will become spiritual hypocrites. We see where other people are failing, and then we take our discernment and turn it into comments of ridicule and criticism instead of turning it into intercession on their behalf. God reveals this truth about others to us, not through the sharpness of our minds, but through the direct penetration of his Spirit. Excuse me. If we are not attentive, we will be completely unaware of the source of the discernment God has given us, becoming critical of others and forgetting that God says he will ask and he will give him life for those who commit sin not leading to death. Be careful that you don't become a hypocrite by spending all your time trying to get others right with God before you worship him yourself. One of the most subtle and elusive burdens God ever places on us as saints is this burden of discernment concerning others. He gives us discernment so that we may accept the responsibility for those souls before him and form the mind of Christ about them. We should intercede in accordance with what God says he will give us, namely life for those who commit sin not leading to death. It is not that we are able to bring God into contact with our minds, but that we awaken ourselves to the point where God is able to convey his mind to us regarding the people for whom we intercede. Can Jesus Christ see the agony of his soul in us? He can't, unless we are so closely identified with him that we have his view concerning the people for whom we pray. May we learn to intercede so wholeheartedly that Jesus Christ will be completely and overwhelmingly satisfied with us as intercessors. Boy, we live kind of in a world that enjoys tearing people down, don't we? I think. And it's a good reminder that a misuse of words can bring destruction, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Proverbs 11:13. I'm going to jump around. You don't have to follow along. I'm going to read these for you. But Proverbs 11:13, and there's plenty more I could have written down. Proverbs 11:13 says, "A talebearer reveals secrets, but he who is of a faithful spirit conceals a matter." You ever hear somebody say, "Well, I didn't know about this. Nobody told me about this. Why didn't I hear about this?" You know. Did you ever consider maybe you're not trustworthy? Maybe that person doesn't trust you with the information that they have. Maybe there's a reason they're not giving you this information. 1 Timothy 5:13. First Timothy. I'm doing all this without reading glasses too. Isn't this good? 1 Timothy 5:13. And it says, "And besides they learn to be idle, wandering about from house to house, and not only idle, but also gossips and busybodies, saying things which they ought not." That could be that could be the Facebook verse right there. That could be the Facebook verse, you know. Anna here the other week was reading something to me about the Florida school shootings that's still kind of heavy into the headlines, and it was on somebody's post who I have no clue, but she's reading it to me, and the post said something to the effect, well, you know, the controversy of some law enforcement personnel not going into the structure. You know, the cops would have gone in if there were pizza inside, if there was a certain TV show on, and she rattled off a few other things, and she found it a bit amusing. I didn't. I really didn't. Who does that benefit? Who does it benefit? The only intent was, in my opinion, to make law enforcement look like idiots, you know. And I'll tell you right now, I pray to God that I'm never involved in a case where there's an active shooter, you know. You know, yeah, you can train for it, you can prepare for it, but until you're actually in the heat of that moment, it's hard to say how things may go down. James chapter 1, verse 26. I must have written these down for a reason, huh? James 1:26, it says, if anyone among you thinks he is religious and does not bridle his tongue, but deceives his own heart, this one's religion is useless. Wow. I'm going to repeat that. If anyone among you thinks he is religious and does not bridle his tongue, but deceives his own heart, this one's religion is useless. Sometimes I guess I'm going to pick on Facebook a little bit here. I guess if people posted things that were positive and spiritual, my thought is you might lose some friends or followers or acquaintances, you know, because there are people that thrive on, I feel, on drama and negativity. And, you know, if you're putting spiritual postings on there and positive postings, my guess is they're not going to continue to follow you, or they may disappear for a little while. And, you know, I hear people sort of bragging about, well, I have, you know, 468 friends on Facebook. You know, I have 892. Well, I have 1,326, you know. Are they friends, or are they just acquaintances, you know? And, you know, basically to that, I say, well, big deal. Big deal. I can offer up a prayer, and I can have 10,000 angels by your side before you even know what hit you. Now, that's a good friend list right there. Okay, I don't have to put it out there in a Facebook session. Proverbs 26:20. Proverbs 26:20. Good counsel here. This is some good counsel. Where there is no wood, the fire goes out. You ever see a fire kind of burn itself out? Where there is no wood, the fire goes out. And where there is no talebearer, strife ceases. Good counsel. Proverbs 18:21. Maybe a familiar verse to some. Wow. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. Wow. That's powerful. Can you imagine getting to the kingdom and somebody coming up to you and saying, you know, you don't know me, but I met you at a Christmas party or a birthday party, and you said something that changed my life. You said so, you never know. I'm going to read something here. I referenced this before, but have you ever, I don't know if this is really an answerable question, but have you ever contemplated why so many people commit suicide? It seems like there's, wow, it says, now, and this is from 2016. It could be different now, it could be higher. On average, it says 123 suicides per day. That's here in the United States. That's too many. It's too many. Here it says, this blows your mind. It says suicide was the third leading cause of death among individuals between the ages of 10 and 14. Kids. Why are kids committing suicide? Is it what they hear? As always, I apologize for getting emotional, but the thought of little children committing suicide because of they can't maybe bear what they've heard or how they've been picked on blows your mind. I read this some time ago before during a sermon. I'm going to read it again. It was in Ann Landers. It says, "Who am I? I have no respect for justice. I maim without killing. I break hearts and ruin lives. I am cunning and malicious and gather strength with age. The more I am quoted, the more I am believed. I flourish at every level of society. My victims are helpless. They cannot protect themselves against me because I have no name and no face. To track me down is impossible. The harder you try, the more elusive I become. I am nobody's friend. Once I tarnish a reputation, it is never the same. I topple governments and ruin marriages. I end ministries set up by God. I ruin careers and cause sleepless nights, heartache, and indigestion. I spawn suspicion and generate grief. I make headlines, headaches, and heartaches. I make innocent people cry in their pillows. Even my name hisses. Gossip. So that's our reminder. You could get in a physical fight with someone, and you could throw punches, deliver some bodily harm. It can be so much worse with the words that we use. It really can. They can stick with people for life, good and bad. Doesn't have to be bad. I'm encouraging us that it can be good as well, not just the in a negative sense. So with that thought in mind, I'm just going to read a couple of encouragement verses that I had seen. It says, a word of encouragement during a failure is worth more than an hour of praise after success. And the last thing says, sometimes when you're in a dark place, you think you've been buried, but actually, you've been planted. May God bless you all. Thank you for being here. We're going to break for class now. Thank you.